it can get a little bit boring. So any...
I'm afraid we have to cut out Sean, because we now need to cross to the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak.
Policing, also a big fan of our plans to roll out more free childcare to those of you with kids, 30 hours for kids as young as 9 months old, but also a massive advocate in bringing skills and opportunity to young people here in Milton Keynes. But crucially, the two of them are also going to stand up and oppose the Labour Council's plans to put 63,000 homes right here in Milton Keynes, almost doubling the size of the population, without any thought for what that would do to your precious green spaces and without the right infrastructure to go alongside. Look, so they're working very hard for you. Will you just join me in saying thank you to them for everything that they're doing? Thanks, guys. Right. So, look, I know the last few years have been really tough. I know that, you know that. We had a pandemic with all the damage that did. Just as we're recovering, Russia invaded Ukraine, with all the impact that had on everyone and their finances. But I do believe that thanks to all your hard work, the resilience and sacrifice that you've all put in, we are getting through the worst of it now. And you can see that. Inflation is down from 11% to 2%. The economy is now growing faster than all our major competitors. Wages have been rising faster than prices for almost a year now. So hopefully you can see that we've turned a corner and that the plan is working. So the question ahead of us now is, who do you trust to build on that, turn that foundation into a secure future for you, your family, and our country? That's the choice of this election. Do we build on the progress that we've made, or do we go back to square one with no plan and no certainty? Now, with the Labour Party, the only certainty that you'll get is that they're going to put up your taxes. As clear as night follows day, that's what they always do, and that's what they will do. The independent officials at the Treasury have totted up all the things that they said they want to spend money on, looked at the black hole in their plans, and I can tell you what that reveals. It's £2,000. Not my numbers, those are the numbers from the independent Treasury officials. £2,000 worth of tax rises for every working family in our country, and I don't want that to happen to you. I don't think that will do anything for your family's financial security. Now, look, you all watch the telly, you'll know that right now we're living in perhaps the most dangerous and uncertain time that our country has known in decades. Russia, Iran, China, North Korea, working together in a way that undermines our values, threatens our interests, both abroad and at home, threatening the integrity of our borders. Now, these uncertain times call for a clear plan and bold action so that we can chart a course to a more secure future. That's what I'm about. That's what the Conservatives are about. Take the one issue of illegal migration. I am determined to stop the boats, because it's simply not fair that people jump the queue, come to our country illegally, put pressure on local services. And we've got a bold idea to deal with it, making it crystal clear that if people come here illegally, they won't be able to stay, because we'll be able to send them to Rwanda. Now, the penny is dropping across Europe. Multiple other European countries just recently all signing up to a declaration, agreeing that our approach is the right one. Who's the one person who doesn't agree with that? Keir Starmer. He's going to release all the illegal migrants that we've already detained. He's going to cancel the flights, offer an amnesty to illegal migrants, making us the soft touch of Europe, making us a magnet for migrants from across the continent. So whether it's on border security or indeed his refusal to match my plans to increase defence spending, you simply can't trust Labour to keep our country safe. Now, what he wants you to believe is that this election is over before it's even begun, that it's a foregone conclusion. Well, I'm going to work very hard every day for every single vote. I'm going to work hard to earn your trust. And you know what? I don't think the British people like being taken for granted. Now, if you think about it, if he was happy to abandon every single promise that he made to become Labour leader as soon as he got the job, what makes you think that he wouldn't do exactly the same thing if he became Prime Minister? If he doesn't stand for anything himself, how can he stand up for all of you? And what we've been doing in the first week of this campaign is putting bold ideas on the table. A new modern form of national service, protection for our pensioners with the Triple Lock Plus, 100,000 new high-quality apprenticeships. And in response, he's got nothing to say, no ideas, no plan. And you don't deliver any change without having those things. And in contrast, I'm going to keep putting bold ideas on the table, working through our plan, because that's how we deliver a secure future for all of you. And that's a future where we have a renewed sense of confidence in ourselves, in our communities, renewed pride in our country. A Britain where all of your hard work is properly rewarded, and where the opportunities that were there for the previous generation are there for the next. And a Britain where, above all, your safety and our defence is assured. So that's a secure future that I'm working towards. That's a secure future I want for all of you and our country. And with your support, that's a secure future that I can deliver. Thanks very much. Right. Before we just open it up for questions, I was just going to also say thank you to Roger and the team for having me here. And congratulations to all of you. Because of businesses like yours, doing the incredible job that you are doing, you may have heard recently that we have overtaken France, the Netherlands and Japan, and we are now the 4th largest export economy in the world. Right? That is something that has happened because of people like you and your hard work. So it's a real pleasure to be with you today. Thanks for having me and the guys, and I'm happy to take some questions. So who's going to go first? Who have we got? Yeah. Perfect. We've got someone over here. Great.
Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, it's good that you sort of mentioned trust there. My mum died in 2020, sort of the height of the pandemic. My brothers couldn't sort of be with us in hospital. I couldn't be there. You probably remember that was the month where all the parties were going on in Downing Street. I think the month after you attended a gathering where you got a fixed penalty notice. So my question was just sort of, how can anyone trust you or the party after things like this?
Yeah. Well, I'm really sorry that you lost your mum, and particularly in those circumstances, because it wasn't easy for so many people during the pandemic, the impact it had on everyone's life. And I can't imagine what it must have been for you not to be able to be with her at that time. It was really tough. And I'm sorry for what was going on in Downing Street. And for my part, I apologised. I showed up to a meeting earlier. As you know, I was working on things to help you and your business and many other families like that. And in fact, it was probably in that same period of time that you got to know me as Chancellor. But most of you didn't know who I was before then, and I popped up on your TV screens, announced the furlough scheme, because I knew that we were going to have to work together to get through that, and it was going to be a difficult time. And hopefully some of you here benefited from some of the support that we put in place, because that was what I was working on during the pandemic. So when you ask, can you trust me, we've had some really big shocks over the past few years with the pandemic, and then what happened with energy bills. And when those things happened, I did everything I could to protect you and your families and help get the country through it, whether it was furlough, whether it was the considerable support with energy bills, because that's who I am as a person. I'm in this to help you, help your family, and particularly when our country goes through tough times, I will always be there to support you. Right, who's next? Where's someone? Yes, sir.
Hi, Rishi. I've got a two-part question, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
so the first question is, what is the current status of the national service conversation, as you brought up earlier regarding national service? And the second part is, when asking young people of their opinion of the government, royal family and current affairs, the general consensus seems to be a negative view. If that is the case, why do you believe there appears to be a lack of expressed patriotism and support for the king and country?
Right. Well, actually, they're linked questions in a way, actually, and a great one. And actually, part of the answer to your second question is why I think national service is the right policy at the right time for our country. And I've been thinking about this for a long time in this job, about, how do we restore that sense of patriotism, pride, and cohesiveness in our society? How do we bring ourselves together and support that? And that's one of the reasons I think national service is going to be great. First and foremost, it's going to give young people incredible skills and opportunities. I think that everyone can agree. They'll have a choice of whether they do a really selective military component or a civic role instead. But it is going to foster that culture of service, bring people together from all walks of life, and strengthen, I'd say, the cohesiveness, the unity of our society. And I think that's really important in this day and age, when there are lots of forces that are pulling us apart, trying to divide us. And then the other practical thing it will do is strengthen our country's resilience and our security to deal with the threats and risks that may come along in the future. So for all those reasons, I think it's a transformational policy. It will become a new rite of passage that everyone goes through and bring us closer together. And I think if we get it right, it will help solve the second part of your question, where actually we do have a renewed sense of service, because I think service gives you purpose. Being part of something that's bigger than yourself is something that's really fulfilling. And as young people go through that together, I think they will have a greater sense of pride in what we stand for and what we are as a country. Excellent question. Where was there? Was a hand over here somewhere, I thought. Maybe, no, it's gone back down. Right, yes, sir.
What will be done to ensure that achieving net support will remain a priority for this government and your party? And also, how will you aid households in achieving it in their own net support in their own households?
Do you mean net zero?
Yes, net zero.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, right. Actually, thank you for the question. So look, I have two young girls. They're 11 and 13. Of course, I believe in climate change. I want us to get to net zero, because that's the right thing to do for my kids, your kids, our grandkids, making sure that we leave the environment in a better state than we found it. The question at this election, the choice at this election is, how do we get there? Right? Now, I've been very clear that we need to get there in a different way to what had been proposed previously. And that means we need to be more serious, hard-headed and pragmatic about it, because there are a couple of things that I want to prioritise. I want to prioritise our country's energy security. We've seen in the last couple of years what's happened, right, when we're held hostage by dictators like Putin. We can't have that happen. So that's why I'm supportive of energy coming out of the North Sea. We're going to need it for decades to come. We're better off getting it here at home. It's good for our economy, good for our jobs, good for our energy security. That's something that the Labour Party opposes. And I also want to prioritise your bills and making sure that we don't unnecessarily burden you with costs. And you said, what help is there? What I don't want to do is force you prematurely to rip out your boiler, upgrade your home, change your car, because those things cost thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds. And we don't need to do them right now. We will do them slowly over time in a measured way, the way other countries are doing them, not race to do it overnight, because that's just going to cost you a fortune, and I want you to have financial security, and I want our country to have energy security. So yes, we're going to get to net zero, but how we're going to get there is going to change if I'm re-elected as Prime Minister, and the choice is very clear, because Keir Starmer and the Labour Party don't believe in British energy from the North Sea, and they don't support my changes to that approach, which is ultimately going to cost all of you thousands of pounds to pay for those changes. Right, next, who have we got? Oh, yes!
Hi. You mentioned earlier that the UK is fourth globally for exports. However, manufacturing has been declining in the country for decades, with many manufacturers moving to overseas countries which are cheaper to manufacture. How will yourself and the party support and hopefully grow manufacturing to enable the economy and get the country back on its feet?
So, I'm going to very politely disagree with you, because there was some very good news that we had last year. Actually, because of businesses like yours that are doing an incredible job, we actually overtook France in the size of our manufacturing sector, right? That's what's going on. Because of businesses like yours that are doing such a great job, we're doing really well, right? And I want to make sure that we continue to do well. So there's a couple of things we are doing, and we were talking about them a little bit before, but it's cutting taxes for businesses like this to support your growth. So we made a decision to cut taxes on investment. Manufacturing businesses need to invest in factories like this, incredible, to expand, to grow. So what we've put in place is a significant tax cut for businesses like yours that are investing back in the economy as you do to support your growth, and that will help us grow the economy and create more jobs. And we're also cutting taxes for businesses like yours that invest in R&D. Now, you've got new hydrogen lifts, incredible. It's going to help us get to net zero. That's great. And that's going to be a new product that you're going to be able to sell around the world. So when businesses are coming up with new things, that's positive. And that's why we want to cut taxes on R&D. So those two tax cuts are targeted particularly at manufacturing businesses like yours, and that will help you and lots of others to continue growing, create jobs that are well paid, because that's how we'll grow the economy and continue to overtake many more countries in the size of our manufacturing sector.
Follow-up question. How do we compete against the heavily subsidised machines coming out of China?
Yeah, so look, trade policy has to be fair. And I think, as you and I were discussing earlier, we have someone called the Trade Remedies Authority that look at competition around the world. And if we're being unfairly competed against, then there are rules that are in place and we can take measures against those. But look, I have enormous confidence and faith because of businesses like yours, right? Talking to all of you, seeing what you're doing, right? We have the best people in the world, the best innovation in the world, and with the right support, I think businesses like yours can compete and grow because people know that Britain stands for high quality. And my job is to make sure we also open up lots of markets around the world for you. And that's one of the advantages of Brexit, is that we can sign trade deals, as we are doing, with many, many countries to reduce the barriers for businesses like yours to sell into even more markets. And a lot of the growth in the world isn't coming from Europe anymore, it's coming from the new markets, whether that's India or elsewhere, and we want to make sure it's easier for your business to sell to those markets. So that's what we're doing, taking advantage of Brexit, signing trade deals, opening up brand new markets for you too. So that should all help. Right, I think we've got time for, we've got time for one more if there's one. Yes, go on, sir, and then we'll wrap up.
I wasn't going to ask a question, but the gentleman opened it up where he said about national service. I see it as a good thing, but I want to ask, how are you going to separate the kids who have the so-called postcode wars? Because we're losing a lot of youngsters to knife crime.
Yeah.
How will that be stopped? Because they'll have to mix from wherever they come from.
Yeah. Well, that actually is something that lots of parents have been talking to me about over the past few days since we made the announcement, and they're excited about that. They're excited because for the right reasons, that it will bring kids together from all walks of life. And that's a really powerful thing. It goes to your question again. It's about fostering that sense of togetherness. So regardless of where you live, what your postcode is, what your parents do, right, you will be doing something together with lots of other young people. And I think that will be really positive. And just very practically, what parents are saying to me is they're excited about the idea of their kids having something to do that is meaningful. Right, whether it's at the evenings, whether it's at the weekends, over the sense of the year, keeps them out of trouble. It means that their life has some purpose, and that is one of the most powerful things we can do to stop kids getting, led down the wrong track. Right, and a lot of when you ask people about gangs, right, why they join gangs when you talk to youngsters or when you talk to their parents, is because being in that gang gives them a sense of identity, right, and a sense of purpose. So this is something that will give kids a much more positive sense of identity and purpose. And I actually think one of the other benefits of it, we will see that it will be able to reduce crime because we'll be doing something really positive for young people instead. Yeah.
Okay, and that was Rishi Sunak there talking in Milton Keynes, taking question and answer session from workers.